this I'm all fine with. But here, as we try to get to Malo, you kind of dribble slightly down, and then you take a slightly emphasized touch going up. If you can, instead of doing like slightly down and then slightly back up, you just keep this one single straight line, if I can draw a straight line. Just as straight as you can forward. Anything you do there will hopefully pull VVD further along with, and then open up a bigger gap back here. The slight touch down and then up makes you slightly slower, and then makes this pass a lot more obvious. If you're threatening just going straight the whole time, the opponent has to consider you might just go touchline. Maybe you'll go all the way and then try to get it back here. And doing that should pull VVD slightly more so that you can make this pass here. And if it doesn't, if VVD stays back, then the touchline is completely on for you. You've actually got this as an option. You can take one of those shots or try to do something from here. Slight down, slight back up is taking this away. At this point, you're almost better using that as a fake, forcing him to defend this pass here, and then just going around this way. Hope I'm making everybody aware that for the first time since our first champ since my coaching session, Alex has indeed gone 15-0. I'm only a little salty about it, as he's gotten it before me, and I don't think he's a better player than me. But Chad, if you want to make that happen, let us know. Maybe Alex and I will have to play each other at some point. I'll sacrifice the ping. I'll be fine with that. I'll come on and see. If Chad, it will be a slightly shorter stream here in the morning. I've got a podcast off to go and do in a little bit here, but missing a little bit of coverage there in the center. We'll be on after the podcast again. So that one, you probably meant that for the other player. Oh, no. I think you get slightly closed down, so you feel you have to put this ball in the air. But you can either just keep on doing your dribble like this, or make this pass down here. You're a little bit slow, maybe you could sprint a little faster or something. I think you're just jogging. Excuse me. But it allows for them to catch back up, which means this ground passes off and you feel you have to put it in the air. So a little bit more of a sprint would just make your ground pass sooner. What is that? Is it a boxing glove? You close down, this one I wanted to say, you close down a little bit, what do you call that, immediately to head on here. If you close down just like this, you take that passing angle away, you prevent them from even being able to do this. Well, that's not actually what ended up happening. That's what I would have done. The closer in you get to the opponent, if they're a decent dribbler, the closer you get, the easier it is for them to go around you. So if you maintain a little bit more distance, this actually kind of makes the opponent question what they need to do here. Yeah, and then this pass wouldn't happen. Because you've got to question, like, what's the biggest danger here? Is the biggest danger Julie dribbling you? Probably not. The biggest danger is them getting the ball down the field quicker. So if you can just delay. By time for the team to set up a little bit more. It's a little dangerous pulling her all the way out of position there. A little unfortunate she doesn't get it, but it's Stanway that happened. She's not the strongest. But you do want to be careful of not... Yeah, and there's a little gap now. You know, the opponent should really be recognizing that they've got 3 players here in a pretty big gap that they control, maybe even 4. And it's too aggressive with Kimmich. You've got no reason to overrun with him here. Same idea, just maintain his shape, especially because Stanway's so far out of position. I'd keep Kimmich like in this general area right now. No need to extend him down here. That opens up the gap for later. Ta closes down the shot enough to make it not good enough. Yeah, it's Jonathan Ta. Good luck beating him in the air. That's nice, actually. I like that. It's good. One more give and go. I would have called Pichon short here. My immediate thought was, she's making a run. Is she ever going to be fast enough, or is Malo ever going to be good enough to make like this kind of pass? No. So if you press R1 and just make her come short, you actually have this option from there. There's a chance, get the ball on her left foot. If Musiala keeps making this run, or you press L1 to make sure he keeps making that run, get it on her left. She might even be able to play it through that gap. Yeah, I'm seeing this triangle immediately. But you got to press R1 to call her short, because it's going to be a little bit harder when she's facing and running away from you. You might be able to make that pass, but I wouldn't risk it. What div and rank? I don't know. That is, for future reference for myself, something I probably should have asked on the Google form. That's all nice. I like that. Good. Okay. I think the biggest thing is we're watching these two replays first and then going back to my gameplay. Chad actually commented on it yesterday. Just the speed of play. There's a lot of being safe as you're like trying to keep this distance away from the opponents. And I'm a lot more aggressive with mine where like I'll get up and then try to get around. It's not necessarily bad to maintain, but it's harder this year than ever. I see like coming from past years of FIFA, why people would keep playing like this still. It doesn't work so well this year because the opponent maintains their shape so well. If you want to... You got to do something to move them around. You can get it back here and then try to make them extend their player all the way out of position. Maybe then you'd have a gap around, or, you know, space to go through. But as you're just kind of doing this and maintaining, you're able to hold on to possession and you're able to do certain things, but the things you can do from there are all hampered by the fact that you haven't generated a bigger gap or a greater opportunity. There's got to be a little bit of risk, I think, where sometimes you just do a skill move, you do a little bit more of a dribble, you take on somebody, and you really pull them out of position, or you get beyond them and open up a gap that way. I hate to criticize the safer play like this. And again, in past years, I think it would have been okay. But like, the AI is just not good enough to win games for you. That's what it is for me this year. If we're doing like, if Mars does this and Milo does this and they do a little swap around and then all of a sudden like, we've got a bunch of runs being made here. If they're doing that and you can recognize, then like, oh, you might have this into that. If Pichon makes the right run into like a ball through to Malo, right? It doesn't happen this year because it's like one player's going to go and then this one's going to kind of linger and then this one's going to like walk around like this and then this one's going to probably drop back because Malo should get back to Cam and then Pichon's maybe going to get here, but they're not going to accomplish much. They're just going to get in those spots. Nice square. But you've got to do something to either connect with the AI that is going to make a run or open up a gap yourself. So here, you can maybe try to dribble, like recognize that you have actually pulled Bellingham a little bit down. You might have this gap to go into if you do the dribble right. You could try to tack back up with Musiala here. Maybe press L1 on Mahrez. If he gets in the right spot, you do that pass, you know? Or from here, you can do that maybe, into Malo. Or you go back and try to pull them out of shape even more. But you kind of play it back into where their shape is, not really generating too much. I have no idea how corners work. I have no comments on that. I do appreciate so many people using teams like mine. Steve, this looks like your team. Stanway, Kimmich, Milo, Pichon, Mahrez. Oh. No, Gregor. Who is that? Yeah, that is incisive Bellingham, isn't it? That's rough. That's quite rough. I suppose he is just onside by the shoulder of my con there. So there are two things you could do to prevent this. One is recognize the shape that you're in. A little bit suspect for the defense here, a little bit out, but nobody's attacking this space. They don't have somebody occupying there, so it's not too big of a deal. By the time the opponent moves the ball over that side where they are controlling, you should have time to delay over there. It's not too big of a deal, but if you think about it this way, the shape, it's okay. This one, not so much. You've got a very uneven shape where you think your two CDMs are meant to be like here, right? And instead they're here, which is not quite as good of a connection. You're very far away from your defense, and there's a big gap here that your opponent controls. So we're looking pretty out of shape for what the team is supposed to be like. Normally that's a red flag to me, and I go, you know what, just get back in shape. Either you're like really aggressive and you're like, I'm just going to, you know, do a behind the back tackle with Kimmich and try to get the ball back here or commit a foul, whatever, that's fine. Or you're just like getting back. So as it is, because you're actually in shape here. Yeah, like Kimmich has come a little bit over, but even by the time that pass gets made, there's time to get back into normal shape. Now no longer. It is interesting that the defense drops so much on you. That I don't feel like they normally do. Depends on your defensive depth. I'm on high depth, 70. Maybe you're on like 50 depth or something and they're dropping. But once you get to this spot, just like danger, get back, set your shape. Totally fine to accept conceding this space and just drop your team back and say, you know what, we're going to set up defensively here. I'm not going to allow you to get past this point, so we'll just set up safely here. As opposed to, we're going to set up here, but be a lot riskier with it. And it's really a recognition thing because you look fine. It looks perfectly fine here. And then your defense moves away from you. So you've got to have your eyes picked up. This is hard. You've got to have your eyes picked up and just realize, oh, all of a sudden red flag, get back. Yeah, you can guard the interception slightly better. I would, instead of trying to maintain your line, I would just probably drop him back. So take the center back and go, oh, I see the run. Just move him back. You know, afford the opponent the space there. But if your center back is here and your line is here, that just buys time for the rest of the line to drop with you. I'm just trying to delay for the CDMs to get back to. There's the pen. Yellow for Koble. That's fine. There's a thing this here, chat, and I can't do it, but like when the foot is like this and when it's open, if you can recognize that and choose to dive that way, like supposedly. You can also see the plant foot's pretty far to the one side. Nope. Maybe it is based off the plant foot. I guess that's what you'd have to look at, but yeah, chat, if you want to get better at defending PKs, if you can react to the direction the plant foot's in, you can try going that way to save it. I like that. That's all good. That's good. Yeah, a little slow. A little slow. No need to kill that on the first touch. I'd keep going the direction the pass is going, back this way. Because if you get into that space, you might have a pass there with Mahrez. Or a through ball down here or something. That's okay. Not so great. And that's a dribble into him. You can take your first step here, try to get the opponent to control this defender, step into you, and then get around like that. This touch is fine, but then just recognize they haven't actually moved that opponent into you, and you're just going to walk into them without any real space to get around. This is all fine. Just keep in mind you don't have any other options, so anything you do here is going to isolate you, and you don't actually have a pass or anything. You're just kind of stuck maybe being able to circle back around. But I don't mind taking the overlap here still, because it advances down the field and then forces the opponent's line to drop a little bit. But here I would just kind of go back and then try to make one of those two passes. As it is, you've gone a little too far. Because this is the thing, right? The defensive line is here. If you can walk around it and get back here before the defensive line steps on you, then you've got passing angles here. It's easier to make your pass here than it is to make your pass here, right? Because now the defensive line is behind you and you have to go through them to make that back pass. If you can get back around, then you've got that open. Yeah, that's what I would change about that move. Confident my scan in the field versus looking down at your player dribbling. Also, how do you scan the field to anticipate the next pass before you pass into a pocket? Great questions. Let me try to illustrate what I would look for in a move like this. So here, scan. Well, I wouldn't scan because it's immediate off the kickoff. You know where everybody is. And this is all fine. Pick your eyes up in spots like this. You're not being immediately closed down. There's no threat of being tackled. You've got a second or two before anything happens that you can react to that by seeing this in your peripheral vision. Pick your eyes up. What I scan for is kind of where that pocket is. So if you look where the space is, well, there's big space here. Honestly, like, let's draw it like this. All of this is space you control right now. So okay, where's the pocket? Well, if you can pull this guy out, maybe keep dribbling down like this with Malo, and then back up to Kimmich, and maybe you'll have something through there. Make the pass. Pick your eyes up. I have not used VVD or Desai. I have no comment. I've faced them both, and VVD is still scarier. But, like, you can pick your head up, same thing here, because the opponent's going to take a second or two to get to you. Now, nothing's really changed, so you're not, if you pick your head up to scan, you're not going to gain any new information. So part of it's really recognizing just when you need to pick your head up versus when you don't, because you're uncertain about what's on the field. When players start moving around, like, oh, Pichon's making a run, Mars is moving here, that's when you got to pick your head up. If they're being really stationary, like back here, then you don't really got to bother, right? Like, oh, is any information changing on me? Aside from Mycon moving back, literally nothing is happening on the field. So you don't have to scan here. None of the opponents are moving anywhere you need to recognize. So you can do like a quick flicker of your eyes, see if there's anything massive happening, but then in spaces like this, absolutely scan. Because where's the pocket? Here. And if you, the benefit of scanning is like being able to predict the game a few moves ahead. I make this analogy a lot, but if you think about chess, in games of chess, it's not about like, oh, I'm going to take this one piece and like gain an advantage on the field. It's like, I want to take this one piece, but if I do, that's going to leave me weak for something 2 moves down the line. So it's all about like what's going to happen for you in the future. If you think about it like this, if you move the ball to Mycon here, what happens? This is probably going to be closed off. This guy might drop What do we have? Bellingham might move over and cover. So going like this, are we going to have any options that way? We'll have back to Stanway. Is that going to benefit us? Probably not, because we're just kind of making their shape compact, and we're not doing anything to break them down. So like that. Are we really going to have anything? Probably not. If you move this way with Stanway immediately, you do this pinged pass with her. We've got this pocket with Musiala. Maybe Pichon makes a run and you can do that. Maybe Pichon makes a run like this, and that might actually open up the gap here and you can run through there. The immediate thing I spot here is here to here. And that's a guaranteed way of getting down the field. The difference here, this is not as guaranteed because Mycon's here. If Mycon were here, it's a different story. If you were up here, and maybe you can just pause, just sit here, stay in like this general area. Press L1 on Mycon, send a run. And then by the time you're making that pass, instead of him being here, he's like up here. Maybe you can do that through ball, and it's the same idea on the other side. But if you can play this pass and allow time for this run to be made, same idea. If he's here, then this is a pretty incisive through ball. That makes their entire defensive line drop. And that might open up, as they move back here, that might open up the gaps back this way, right? So this run gets made. Let a pass back this way, you might have something from there. If we press L1, like get the ball to Musiala, press L1 on him, get that run down. You've got a lot of time with Musiala, so you can even, like, if it takes some time for that run to be made, get it this way, Musiala down a little bit, so you're not making it obvious that you want to make this pass, and then just from here, do that through ball, right? But it's all about thinking, like, what is my next move going to accomplish for me? This is okay, but if you're thinking that 3 steps ahead, what is this going to do? It's always going to go back. Now that's fine, but like, you do this little pass here, you could have just gone back anyway. Is it a big deal one way or the other? No, I'm not going to criticize it, but like, you haven't advantaged yourself, you haven't disadvantaged yourself, you're just staying neutral by going forward and then going back. The idea with the other move is actually gaining an advantage in some way. Now this one, the opponent is pretty well set. It does look like there's a gap here with the missing center back, but that would have to be a pretty immediate run to get back into it. I see... Okay, I do see... Yeah, that's fine. If you play the Pichon, I imagine you tried to. A pinged or an incisive pass should be fine here. I think that's just you recognize a little too late. I don't know. That's tough, actually. It's VVD, and he just gets back so well. I don't mind. This looks like a pass that should be made. I'm very surprised it isn't. Maybe you just power that up more, but I'm okay with going with that, or going for that. Yeah, I'm scanning a lot. Basically, to answer the question, Wally, anytime I'm not under threat of losing the ball, I'm picking my head up and scanning. Now, I don't get to do that much because of how narrow I play. So I am under threat of losing the ball a lot, especially this year with how powerful tackles are, but every chance I get, every chance I get when I'm uncertain of the information on the field, I'm picking my eyes up and I'm looking around. Actually, like, look here, back to your player, look here, back to your player, look here. What can we do better here? It's just the one touchdown, actually. I'm surprised this gets through. Bellingham probably could have made a tackle, but if you keep running this way, you actually are fine here. Yeah, just continue. Keep going this way, maybe you'll have a little pass up there or something. But the touchdown ruins it. I imagine you weren't expecting to hold on to the ball, so it's a little tough. That's fine, because it's Ta. See you, Sunzi. We'll be streaming a lot today, so I might see you later. That's all good. Not a surprise with Malo here too. Mostly because it's VVD and only VVD's OP. But that's... I wouldn't even... Truth be told, I would not have even seen this path back to Mycon. Were you trying for that, or were you trying to go to Maraz? Because it works out better if you're as this is. If that was intentional back to him, I'd give you full props for that. Because he's not controlling either of those players, and I don't think... This is probably Futra, I think. It's not going to be good enough to make that interception. Yeah, that's really well done. No. That's too defended. If you wait, if you're a little slower and the opponent's a little bit beside you, yeah, the gap is, you think about it, the gap's back this way, not this way. So don't do a 90-degree skill move. You got to do like a 140 degree or something to go back this way. You can do the McGee to cancel if you know how to do those. So like 1-2. You can do a little drag back, just ball or drag, or normal drag back, R1, L1, and left stick. You can do the directional nutmeg. That's a little diagonal down back. If you want to be safer, you can do a little ball roll down here and just go around back this way. Maybe you'll connect to somebody back here. You've got a lot of space here, actually. If you felt like using that, and build up your attack from back there. Not that I'm saying you have to, but it is very safe to go back that way. But the way to make this dribble more effective is instead of being side to side of the opponent, if you can be a little bit more head on. Because you're in total control here. They're not nearby you. And you've got multiple options you can do here, right? Here you've got significantly fewer options. So that first this touch here is what takes your options away. So instead, if you can angle this down, I would get out of tech. Get out of tech dribbling. And it's not tech, never mind. Out of sprint then, I think you're just doing normal sprints. But if you can face up, if your body shape is this angle, as opposed to this angle, if we do this, then what you're saying is you're like telling the defender, you know what, this is the 1v1 confrontation. And then you've got the option of going back around this way. What that does is it slows the opponent's momentum down. So if you can get them here and facing up head on with you, the acceleration touch of going around that way is going to gain you more space than keeping them at their current momentum and allowing them to just keep going. Anything you can do to kill that momentum and accelerate beyond it is going to grant you a better opportunity in the end. As it is, this touch here, because that the other touch wasn't down and you're not doing anything to like do a ball roll and slow down and turn your body shape here. So with your body shape faced this way, what you communicate to the opponent is I'm going to go that way. This is the direction I want to go. And what happens? Well, that's the direction the opponent defends. So you kind of show your hand going this way, and then that's also what you perform. If you show your hand to something else and then use that as a fake, you get a better advantage. Same thing in the other direction. If you show your hand this, and you do something from here, that might get you a better advantage too. So you can do the trickster fake shot to get back around this way. Because if we see, Saliba's actually slowed down a little. Now you can't predict that, but it would have given you, if you do the skill move here, you can get through, actually, you'd have a gap back this way. Trickster fake shot would be perfect for this. If you're slightly angled this way instead of this way, then an L1 heel to heel will work. A little step over, you do the step over and then the left stick down like that way. You might get through. You can do a body feint to go down that way. You can try your McGee spin this way. might work, but that's a little disadvantage because instead of putting you this way, it puts you down this way, and you got to do something from there. Yeah, I'd say your advantage is back there instead of kind of continuing the way you're showing that you're going to go. I don't think I have any comments here. It was very strange. I'm surprised that's not a foul. You're aggressive with the same skill move, though, so you've just done the same one twice in a row and it's failed both times. If you do a different one here, probably a little bit more effective. Yeah, you're just going to perform it into him. Same idea. If you do like the directional nutbag back here or drag back, you might actually get back this way instead of into him. And back this way gives you that pass lane. Scanning. If I'm thinking worst pocket, where we have number advantage, where second, third pass would be. It's not that formulaic in my mind, because these are, you got to keep in mind in the game, these are like calculations that are just firing off like that. And Wally, if you've played long enough, I think you were Div 2. We did your review yesterday. Like, Div 2 is good enough to recognize some of the patterns of play and like the idea of where the move is going to happen and where your advantages are. Think about it this way. Where do you score a lot of your goals from? You're probably trying to get into those spaces, right? So put in a lot of work of, you know, this is where I want to end up, and this is like how I'm going to get into those spaces. It's very repetitive, you know, but if that's what you're good at, then take that advantage. But I don't really have like a... If I had to narrow it down, it'd be like, am I in danger? Yes or no? Can I put the opponent in danger? Yes or no? Like immediately? Is there like a threat? Something that could be dangerous for them or dangerous for me? Put them in a tricky spot? Yes or no? And then if not, how do I generate that? I don't really mind how that was defended much. You can involve your CDMs a little bit more. Maybe do like hold R1 and have them second man press or something. You can try to switch to one and just involve them a little bit more. But you're pretty close to intercept. I don't have much to comment on this. I'd feel a little rough myself if that shot goes in. I don't think you've defended that pretty... You know, I don't think you defended very poorly there. Robert Koch. Cook. Frankfurt RTTK card. That's all good. Yeah. Same kind of criticism here. It looks like Mars is about to perform a pass. But you show your hand and then you take that hand, right? So where's your body shape here? Where's the opponent's body shape here? No. Here. Where you're trying to go through this. Anything you can do to get their body shape out makes this pass a little bit easier. You kind of can accomplish that by changing your body shape. If you're facing this way, the opponent might defend a little bit more this way. Like, you know what, the opponent might sprint this way, I'll have to defend this way, and that might open up the gap back here. So Mara's showing that hand. If I'm communicating this and I'm telling the opponent, because that's what you're doing, you're telling the opponent, you know what, the dangerous thing is here, you've got to go defend that. If I tell the opponent this, I'm probably going to recognize that they're going to defend that and then just go this way. So you face up with Mendy, and then same little trickster fake shot, and one heel to heel, something to go this way. And from there, if you slow that momentum down enough and he's stationary and you get that acceleration touch beyond him, you might have this pass on, right? Oh, you've killed his momentum there. Around, Bichon keeps running, depending on how fast VVD gets back, of course. Should have space there. Of course, if you do it with the right timing, you'd keep this on side. The other thing I do here is... This touch is fine. I like going this way. I might take my touch back this way. This way. Little, just normal L1, not any fancy dribbling or skill moves or anything. This way. Touch this way. If you can get back up to this space, then the passing angle might be on around Mendy. You can't pass through. You got to do something to get around. Tough. That's good, Ta, but this is, I talk about this a lot in these. This is a bad defensive shape. Anything you can do to stay connected with Ta is better. You want to keep your shape a little bit more like this, but this is such a gap that they can get through. So that's a lot scarier. If you end up in that situation, or if I end up in it, normally I'm just super aggressive. I'll go, you know what? I'm just gonna spam stand tackle. Just go this way, press tackle, even if it's foul, whatever. That's good from top, but yeah. Just you pull him a little bit away from the other defender. And that's scary. I wouldn't even think of that. That's wild. He can make that pass. It works for you. I don't mind it. It just... my mind doesn't think of these things, you know? Okay, so what you've done here is you've encouraged Futre way out of the line. You've gotten around, that's good. And what that does, right, is their shape is supposed to be something like this. Looks like just a 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 or something. And you've turned this shape into that shape. And what the opponent wants to do is, because there's a big gap here, they want to sprint into that. So they're trying to cover the... you know, if they're like this, they don't have to do anything to sprint here because there's already somebody here. But with like that, then you're almost accomplishing the same thing. Both of their shapes end up like that. So this is why I talk about the opponent's shape a lot. Because anytime you pull somebody out of space, it encourages the opponent to pull somebody else out of space to cover up the gap, which gives you an even bigger advantage down the line. Now you recognize it all well. I don't know if you press L1 on Mahrez to send him on a run, but what pressing L1 does is it just does a straight run and nothing else. What he needs is a down run. His AI might do that alone. I would just leave the AI to do it. You know, you think you might have an advantage down this way. If you want to play this pass, the time to do it isn't here because the opponent's going to cover it by then. The time to do it would be if you can let him make more of the run and then here, because that's actually getting in behind. Or you can wait a little bit longer for the AI to maybe go down. Or you press L1 on him and then really quickly flick the right stick, which does the directional run. So you flick the right stick diagonally down and send him this way, that way. What I would probably do is up this way and then just make that pass. Not worry about... if this is like an Incisive Plus player, then, you know, you can play this just fine and go from there and just not worry about even getting him behind too much. You can complete that. But Maicon probably can't play that one with Mendy here. You'd either have to do this touchdown and get the passing angle to make that one, or I'd probably just go up into this gap and then make the pass there. So how I do that is from here. Instead of this body shape, which is almost good, I would still have that one. Because from here, you see how Mendy's gone this way a little bit? If you do this, Mendy will probably come a little bit down towards this angle. That gives you a little bit more ability to go up that way. We had Mahrez. Enzo, I like that actually, not the touches though. So this is very much a buy time situation. There's a big gap here. I don't mind you moving into it because that collapses the opponent. They get scared. That might open up a gap somewhere else. But you've got to realize what you got to do with Pichon here is do some hold-up play. So where's VVD coming at you? That way, where do you go? Kind of down into the direction he can cover. You take that first touch away from him, then you get a little bit more space. You just want to move into the space here as opposed to into where they're covering. It works out for you. You retain possession. I mean, hey, it almost works out for you, but I would be more aggressive here. This is fine. Got a big gap here. You don't really do much with it. If you move into it, this is where I'd go, you know what, Kimmich, just get forward. Get confrontational with one of the defenders. You go all the way up here. A little touch around, you get an angle. So staying back here just kind of buys time for them to get back in shape. They're very collapsed and very kind of out of position. Like, they're in position, but strict, like, it's a strong defensive shape, but the wrong players are in the wrong spots. So there should be some movement to get them back in a normal position that you can take advantage of. Yeah, I just get forward with them. If you want to be really aggressive with the CDM, I wouldn't really recommend this, but it's something you could do. Send Kimmich on a give and go, and maybe try that. Send Musiala on a run. You might have that pass with Malo. You might have that pass like that. But the space is here. Anything you can do to try to attack that would, I think, be beneficial. Otherwise, move here with Kimmich. If you can get the opponent to commit to you a little bit this way, that opens up an even bigger gap for Malo, and then you do something from here. As it is, you sit there, yeah, you've got a little gap there with Pichon, but you've turned away. So the other thing you could do is just try to keep yourself a little bit face up for when something happens. Nothing quite available here, so do a little dribble here, and then make sure you're facing back this way. As opposed to, like, when movement actually starts happening, you've turned away from it. So wait for the movement to start happening, and then be faced towards it. Got anything else to be shown here? Not really. I don't mind the shot selection. Wow, Rudy. What a set of touches that was. Jonathan. That's all fine. This is the problem I had with the 4-2-3-1-2. Is like, you've got so much space here. So much. What are you supposed to do with it? It's like, stationary, stationary, stationary. Running away from you. Mahrez, I'm never going to be able to get the ball to you. He's almost, like, completely uninvolved the whole play. It's like, somebody make a move, and then Musiala kind of goes. So this is all fine. I like that. I really do. It's just, the reason I've gone to the 4-4-1-1 is I have so much less space, but at least my players are closer together, so there's more for me to accomplish. A 4-2-3-1-2, I've got so much more space, and then it's like, but how do I utilize it? Everybody's so far away. You know, there's no ability to get the ball. Let's just say, I'm not saying this to recommend getting the ball to Mahrez. It's just the downside of the formation. You've got nobody at all to be able to, like, switch the play to this way. You can go back here, but then there's no pass option here unless you do an over the top, which I wouldn't recommend. The 4-4-1-1, if these players are here, then you get it back to Kimmich, then to Stanway, then maybe that passes on. But the fact that they're here, it's just a little disconnected, you know? It's not a bad thing, it's just, it explains part of why you have a lot of space to utilize in all of your attacks. But it also has so much time for the opponent to get back into shape. It's why my speed of play is a lot faster than this. Again, I think about how many goals you concede that are like these slower attacks versus how many goals you concede that are just 1, 2, what is this, 3 passes, 4 passes, 3, that'd be 4. There's a 5-pass move from the opponent, and they get in behind you and almost have a scoring opportunity, right? 5 passes. Versus how many of the moves, and this looks so dangerous, it's like, how many of the moves where you have like 15, 20, 30 passes to actually generate and goal-scoring opportunities that are this strong? And I'm not going to tell you go ahead and be a counterattack player, but it's like, that's why I'm advocating for, like, be a little bit more aggressive with Kimmich that one time to get him further forward. You know, get him closer to the rest of your team. Because then you get some speed of play. You've got some closer passes together. You've got some different passing lanes, you wouldn't have the other direction. This, I think, is the panic. I don't want to criticize, but I do have to. You got a left-footed player here, so I understand, like, well, you don't want to get on his right and do that. Do you have this option? Not really. If you want to be safe, you can just go back to Koble and clear it. Or shift up with Roussillon here and just play a long ball out that way. Obviously, anything you do, clear it this way, clear it this way, clear it that way. Just big clear up the field. Anything you do is safer than a pass that is guarded. Like, opponent here, can't really play that. Opponent here, can't really play that. If you trust his passing, I don't know how Roussillon's weak foot is or his passing stats. If you trust that, you can try to go up here. I would just get it on his left and do that, or get it to Koble and then clear. Now that's rough because it's pretty infrequent this year that the opponent's attacker gets an interception. You see how it bounces off of him? Like, the interceptions aren't good. It's lucky that he gains possession from it, so it's rough, but it's not a risk worth taking. Oh, what a ball that is. Okay, Koble. This is the one downside to deep-lying playmaker roaming if you're using it on her. I don't really like that position. I like everybody everywhere else they get, but I don't like when they replace their fullback. If this were earlier in the game, I would criticize this a little bit heavier, but as it's later, I understand trying to get forward and getting your attacks. I imagine you're trying to pass that to Milo, not to Mahrez. So that's just an accuracy on the left stick thing. This can be a ground pass even. You can do ground pass here, through ball there, and just get through to Mahrez there. You can try to do the through ball onto Milo, but he's not the fastest, so it's probably not going to be on. Yeah, I'd do the little give and go thing. You'd probably have to buy time from there, but at least you have progressed up the field. If the opponent intended that, this is a level of vision I do not have. And I'm not going to criticize you for not defending it. I mean, you're trying to with Stanway. That's tough. You get a little lucky with how all that plays out, though. Okay. That's all right. Yeah, that could be intercepted. AI just doesn't really want to give you those interceptions. Maybe Koch just isn't the strongest defender for you. I feel like Ta normally got that for me, but I haven't used Koch, so maybe just recommend replacing him with somebody better. That sucks, opponent. This is good space. Okay, you kind of lose out on it, but nah. Oh, excuse me. I would get this to Malo. Because if you think about this, is Mahrez ever really going to have a pass on here? Probably not. So I'd get this here, and then you might have a through ball down here. You know, do a little give and go, get Mahrez. You can also, with Malo, maybe do one of those passes out to Musiala. Yeah, I like the gap he's in, because Mahrez gets closed down a little bit quicker. If you accelerate a little faster, then like do a skill move to get going, or just sprint, Mahrez might be here instead of back here, which means these players don't have any real bearing on you. You'd be stronger off there, too. OBS, I don't need you on the screen there. Come on. Yeah, from there. Same thing we've been talking about most of the game. To improve the dribbling, you face up this way instead of this way. Because what does this communicate? This communicates going this way. What does the opponent defend? They defend that. If you face up this way, you might have the chance to accelerate beyond. You've also got that little passing option if Pichon stays on side, and that is a big if, but you can try moving back this way and playing that pass on. You can also try just this one here. Mario's Incisive Basic might be able to play that. Probably not the best through ball, so Pichon will pick it up back here, whereas if this was like Javi with Incisive Plus, he'd maybe be able to play it like that and get a shot. But if you want, you can get it like that. You're just going to have to figure out something else from there. But yeah, I'd face up against VVD and then try a dribbling method, skill move or something, as opposed to same concept of showing your hand and then playing it too. That's good. I like that. This is what we talk, like, this is the advantage of, instead of playing this pass immediately, I think you can see what this benefit is. Instead of playing that pass right away, you've pulled the AI a little bit closer to you. Now there's a different gap up here. If you play this pass right away, the opponent's got plenty of time to switch to this player and then have them move towards you. But doing it like this, getting them so close, a little bit more of a gap here for Musiala. Now it's tough because you don't have any connection. I think this is the right play to do here, but you don't have any connections. He's not overlapping. Kimmich's a little far away. You don't have any run being made in front of you. But it's last minute, so you're having to get forward. This is what I would have done too. But from here, oh, it's tough. It actually works out pretty well for you. If the opponent sprints down on you here, that's the hardest thing, and I would probably go, you know what, I just got to be safe. Pass the ball back here and hope you've got time to get forward here and just do something there. Because you got to be like here on the field to make sure the final whistle isn't blown. Do that if this was sprinted at you. But because the opponent's not aggressive there, you actually have a little space to work down here. Yeah, if Musiala has Tiki, and if this is Trailblazers, he's got Tiki Taka and Incisive. Either should be able to play that too. Pichon. Looks like you go for a shot. Maybe you go for a pass, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, the AI is great from her there if you're able to see that. But that's the end of that one. So, a couple defensive things that I think Kalk just kind of let you know. We've still got an attack. Never mind. Kalk let you down a couple times, and I don't need to watch my own video. No. Hi, we're watching what we were just watching. But I'm on the screen now. Anyway, yeah, a couple defensive things. Keeping your shape a little bit better, recognizing what the opponent's going to move to, and then recognizing when you're out of shape and just getting back into it. On offense, you do your possession game pretty well. You keep that, like, keep your spaces open, you stay in the space as opposed to moving out of it. And that's okay, but eventually you're going to need a little bit quicker play or a little bit more aggression, I think, for that to be beneficial. If you think about it this way, if you keep those little spaces all game and you just kind of operate in them, you don't really threaten the opponent too much with it. The opponent feels very safe and they're not really having to do anything, and you're not showing the opponent anything that is different or anything they need to be scared of. The switches that I wouldn't even recognize, like, that's something for the opponent to go, whoa, I didn't expect that. So the more, like, you've got in your toolkit, the more things you can go, hey, actually this time, most of the time I'm not aggressive, but a couple times I am, then that surprises the opponent. Maybe they don't defend that as effectively. But you've got to do a little bit better chance creation because you've got the space for it. But the players aren't quite, maybe it's a formational thing too, because they're not quite getting into the right spots for you either. Maybe try that 4-4-1-1 instead of 4-2-3, because this is the problem I was having with it too. Again, I don't want to be too harsh because, like, when I'm using it, my players aren't quite in the right spot a lot as well. But yeah, I do hope that was helpful. And if you got any questions, do let me know in the comments there.